Hey everyone, welcome back to the Encouragement Experiment. I am Michael, and so glad that you came back here today. In the last episode, we talked about the exhaustion of constantly trying to prove yourself, the pressure, the striving, the emotional weight of feeling like you're constantly having to measure up. Well, today, I want to dive in a little bit deeper because underneath insecurity, underneath striving, overthinking, and people pleasing, there's usually something deeper happening. There's usually a fear underneath the behavior, a lie beneath the lie. And I think one of the reasons insecurity is so difficult is because most people only deal with the surface. We try to manage the symptoms without ever identifying the root. But the root absolutely matters, because if you don't deal with the root, the same patterns just keep showing up, but in different ways. Let me give you an example. Sometimes perfectionism is actually a fear of failure. Sometimes people pleasing is really a fear of rejection. Sometimes control, I love control, is really a fear of uncertainty. Sometimes overworking is really fear of not feeling valuable. And sometimes insecurity is connected to a lie that we started believing years ago, maybe from criticism, maybe from rejection, childhood experiences, failure, maybe from comparison. And at some point, many people quietly begin believing things like, I'm not enough, or I'll never measure up, I'm unwanted, I'm only valuable when I succeed. If people really knew, they wouldn't accept me. And here's the difficult thing. When those lies go unchallenged long enough, they begin shaping the way that we see ourselves. And eventually, they stop sounding like lies. They start sounding like identity. But just because something feels true doesn't mean it's true. Look at Psalm 139:14 says, I will praise you because I have been remarkably and wondrously made. See, that verse challenges the idea that our value is accidental. We were created intentionally by God, but insecurity has a way of making us question our worth, our value, and even our place in this world. And if we're honest, sometimes we spend years trying to heal externally from something that is actually internal. We chase achievement, we chase approval, recognition, relationships, success, hoping that something external will finally quiet the insecurity internally. But external success cannot heal internal lies. Only truth can do that. Look at, Jesus said in John 8:32, you will know the truth and the truth will set you free. Hear this, freedom begins when truth enters the conversation, not self-hype, not pretending everything is okay. Hear this, truth. And sometimes truth starts with simply identifying what fear is actually underneath your insecurity. Maybe your fear is rejection. So now you avoid vulnerability because you're afraid of getting hurt. Maybe your fear is failure. So now you constantly pressure yourself because you feel like mistakes define your value. Maybe your fear is not being enough. And so now you're going to spend your life trying to prove yourself to everybody around you. But insecurity grows wherever lies go unchallenged. One of the healthiest things we can do is to slow down long enough to ask, what am I actually afraid of? That question reveals a lot because most behaviors are connected to beliefs, and most beliefs are connected to identity. Look at Romans 12:2 says, don't be conformed to this age, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Transformation, again, we've talked about this, starts internally. And honestly, I think one of the biggest moments of healing is when you stop letting insecurity define you. You may struggle with insecurity, but insecurity is not your identity. You may battle fear, but fear does not get the final say over your life. God's truth does. Maybe today the challenge is not to fix everything overnight, but maybe the challenge is to simply becoming honest enough to identify the deeper fear underneath the struggle. Because when roots are exposed, healing can finally begin. So as we close today, I want to encourage you with this thought. The lies you believed about yourself may have very well shaped you, but they do not have to keep defining you. God's truth is stronger than the insecurity that you and I have been carrying. And healing starts the moment you stop agreeing with the lie. Thanks so much for spending a few minutes with me here today on the Encouragement Experiment. And remember this, you, I, we have nothing to prove. I'll see you next time.